Good, happy Friday morning, January 10, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Friday morning, so let's begin. First up, pedestrian killed when hit by dump truck on Route 11 in Newport. Police say driver cooperating with investigation. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Information tonight about a deadly pedestrian crash up in Newport. Police have released the name of the man who was killed and details on how he was hit. Let's go to WMUR's Mike Cronin. He's live at the Newport Police Department tonight with the latest on this story for us. Mike, what can you tell us?
Police calling this a tragic accident. That victim was out walking before dark when he was hit by a truck. Tonight, the scene of a deadly accident is clear at the corner of Seneca Street and Bald Mountain Road. Around 3:30 this afternoon, Newport police say a pedestrian was hit by a dump truck turning onto Seneca Street. The victim, 55-year-old Robert Ray of Claremont, was pronounced dead where he was struck by a driver for Yukon Trucking out of Newport. Police say that driver is cooperating and speed was not a factor.
It appears nothing more than an unfortunate tragic accident. And we encourage anyone who may have witnessed the incident to call here. I'm investigating.
Authorities shut down the road for hours while trying to figure out how this happened. The cause is still not clear.
This investigation is going to take some time to complete.
This is the second deadly pedestrian accident in just the last 2 weeks in Newport. Police warning everyone to be careful at all times.
We encourage people in the community to wear bright-colored clothing, use crosswalks, and to walk against traffic.
In that other deadly pedestrian accident, an 80-year-old man was killed while crossing North Main Street back on December 28th. Reporting live in Newport, Mike Cronin, WMUR News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Students, parents speak out in Newmarket. Petition of no confidence in superintendent submitted. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
Way. Earn toward a new GM vehicle with the Buy Power card from Capital One, because the most rewarding things in life are earned.
Newmarket parents and students having their voices heard over the unexplained removal of junior-senior high school principal Chris Mazzoni, who was placed on paid administrative leave over 2 months ago. Students say his absence continues to be a disruption in the classroom.
If everything was surely resolved, there would be no problem. But there is a problem.
A joint statement released by Superintendent Susan Givens and Mazzoni says in part, "We regret any confusion that exists and any uncertainty the situation has created for members of the public, staff, and students. The superintendent, school board, and Mr. Mazzoni will continue to work together in the best interest of our students." It goes on to say that the issue has been resolved and that Mazzoni will return not as principal, but instead to oversee construction as facilities director.
If Principal Mazzoni did anything at all that put our kids in harm's way, would he be allowed back in the building?
Many explain why they signed a petition calling for a vote of no confidence in Dr. Givens, while others spoke in her support.
Nothing that Dr. Givens has done up to this point has earned my trust. and it seems the trust of many members of our community.
It's time to stop pointing fingers and blaming people, and it's time to get on to the business that we are so passionate about, and that is educating our children.
The school board says it will take that petition under advisement and meet this Saturday to address it. The district will look for a permanent replacement for principal in the coming weeks. Reporting in Newmarket, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. State House votes to increase minimum wage to $15 in 5 years. The New Hampshire House has passed another minimum wage bill, despite a likely veto by Republican Governor Chris Sununu. New Hampshire Democrats aren't maxed out on trying to set and increase a minimum wage. The Democratic-led New Hampshire House voted once again Thursday to establish and gradually increase the state's minimum wage, despite a likely veto from Republican Governor Chris Sununu. Sununu vetoed a bill last year that would have created a 10 per hour minimum wage this year and raised it to 12 in 2020. But Democrats believe their chances are better now that surrounding states have increased their minimums. For now, New Hampshire defaults to the federal minimum of $7.25 per hour. The Senate vetoed Wednesday to further study a bill that would set the minimum at $9.50 now and increase it to 12 in 2020. But the House approved a bill Thursday that would set the minimum at $8.50, raising gradually to 15 in 2025. The 212 to 155 vote was well short of 2/3 majority that would be needed to override a veto. Opponents said the bill would push small businesses to reduce hours and increase automatic of jobs. New Hampshire lawmakers react to War Powers Resolution vote. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Congresswoman Annie Custer says she's concerned Congress was not consulted before the airstrike. She says the War Powers Resolution will help prevent the U.S. from entering into a war in the Middle East.
This decision needs to be made by the people, not just one person. And what I believe is that it's my responsibility as a member of Congress to keep New Hampshire families and the American people safe.
Congressman Chris Pappas calls it critically important that Congress makes a statement on who has authority to declare war.
We need to ensure that we're not seeing any further escalation of tensions in the Middle East, and I believe the vote today will allow us to call the White House to get a very clear and consistent strategy with respect to Iran.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen wants Iran back at the negotiating table and hopes the president isn't considering long-term engagement.
The Constitution gives Congress the right to declare war, and so if we are going to engage in a long-term conflict in Iran or any other country, I think it's very important for Congress to debate the propriety of that, whether this is something that we should do.
And in a statement tonight, Senator Maggie Hassan says, I will continue to call on the administration to work with Congress and to communicate with the American people about its long-term strategy to de-escalate the conflict with Iran, keep our troops safe, and protect our national security.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Three area Dunkin' shops burglarized. Seneca police asked for public help in unsolved New Year's burglary. Let's take a look at this photo of the suspect. This is a photo of the suspect right here, as you can see. Seneca police have asked for the public's assistance in their investigation of a burglary at the Dunkin' shop on Old Concord Road on December 31st. Seneca Detective Sergeant says cash was taken and there was extensive damage to the front glass doors and inner office door. Police believe this suspect is responsible for additional burglaries at Dunkin' shops in Bosquen and Goffstown. Seneca Police Sergeant described the suspect as 5 feet 5 inches to 5 feet 10 inches tall, with brown curly hair, brown eyes, and a thin mustache. In the surveillance photo, he is seen wearing a winter jacket with fur on the hood. Police say the suspect parked his vehicle next to the employee entrance and attempted to pry the door open, but was unsuccessful. He eventually gained entry through the front door and drove away in a dark-colored Dodge Dart or Mercedes 3. Anyone with information on the vehicle or suspect identity is asked to contact the Seneca Police Department. Use of firefighter fighting foam containing PFAs prompts hazmat cleanup in Epping. Foam used after crash of gasoline tanker. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Jennifer Crompton.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Motorists
Congress on Route 101 in Epping will see hazardous materials cleanup crews busy at this westbound spot between exits 6 and 7 for several months to come.
The environmental contractor is almost out there on a daily basis collecting gasoline from the surface. They've been doing a lot of work out there as far as digging trenches and test pits.
They will clean up and monitor the site and some surrounding wells in the future after a mid-December crash between a tanker and another vehicle caused more than 6,000 gallons of gasoline to spill. Because of a new law, they'll also be cleaning up something firefighters used at the scene that night.
We had to move quick. There was a lot of lives at stake. Could have been a lot of harm if that thing had ignited.
The Epping fire chief describes the need for firefighting foam that could keep the entire area from igniting.
We still had the driver on the ground near the crash site who was covered in fuel, and the highway was packed, both lanes, and stopped.
But as of January 1st, the use of Class B foam that contains toxic PFAS is now outlawed in New Hampshire, except in extreme situations, and if it is used, must be reported to DES and treated as hazardous waste until a green version is tested that can do the trick. However, it will be allowed in extreme situations.
Plus, it's very effective. The minus is you're contributing to the contamination, and that's going to have to be removed too.
It's hoped that testing will soon prove the green version to be just as effective. Live in Epping, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Presidential candidates say Congress must reassert constitutional powers. Candidates say Congress should rein in presidential's ability to make war. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
President Trump says he's done enough to keep Congress in the loop regarding the airstrike that killed a top Iranian general.
I had calls from numerous senators and numerous congressmen and women saying it was the greatest presentation they've ever had.
But on the trail in New Hampshire, Deval Patrick says Congress is doing its job by conducting oversight when it comes to the president's use of military force.
We are supposed to have a system of checks and balances. We've been eroding particularly around war making for some while now. It's a negotiation, and it should be. And I think mostly it's a question of notice to the leadership of the House and the Senate.
After a town hall at the 2020 College Convention in Manchester, Tom Steyer told reporters the Iran issue has re-exposed what he says is a chronic problem for the Trump administration.
What we've seen, the way that he's handled his role as commander-in-chief, is the way that he's handled his role as president across the board, which is not to obey the institutions and laws of America. And they're trying to rein him in and make him subject to the normal institutional controls.
Andrew Yang is also campaigning in New Hampshire. He's called the airstrike against General Qasem Soleimani a mistake.
Our Constitution clearly says it should be for Congress to declare war. Congress ceded that authority in 2001 with the AUMF. As president, I would repeal the AUMF and return the power to Congress where it belongs in our Constitution.
Adam Sexton, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for January 10, 2020. We have a bunch of candidates in New Hampshire today. And here is that list of your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for today. The first candidate we're talking about, Deval Patrick. He's in New Hampshire today. He has 3 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Town Hall Forum at Nashua Community College in Nashua, New Hampshire at 10:30 a.m. His second event, Open Democracy Forum at Dover Library in Dover, New Hampshire at 3:30 p.m. In his third event, Conversation with Newmarket Democrats at the Newmarket Democrat office in Newmarket, New Hampshire at 6:30 p.m. Elizabeth Warren, she's in New Hampshire today. She has two events today in New Hampshire. Her first event, Town Hall at River Mill at the Dover Landing in Dover, New Hampshire at 12:15 p.m. In her second event, Climate Town Hall at Hampshire Hills Athletic Club and Event Center in Milford, New Hampshire at 5 p.m. Andrew Yang, he's in New Hampshire today. He has 4 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Meet and Greet at the Metropolitan Coffee House in North Conway, New Hampshire at 9 a.m. His second event, Town Hall at Wolfboro Town Hall in Wolfboro, New Hampshire at 2 p.m. His third event, Town Hall at the Caponi Center in Concord, New Hampshire at 4:30 p.m. And his fourth event, Town Hall at Peterborough Town Hall in Peterborough, New Hampshire at 7:30 p.m. Those are all the candidates in New Hampshire today. U.S. features point to a higher open as investors await key jobs data. U.S. stock index features were higher Friday morning as world markets rally on back of easing tensions in the Middle East. Missile highly likely took down Ukraine flight. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night, and we begin tonight with the growing certainty from U.S. intelligence that it was an Iranian missile that brought down that passenger jet that crashed outside Tehran, allowed to take off just hours after Iran launched those missiles targeting the U.S. military. And tonight here, this new video posted by a resident in a Tehran neighborhood showing the plane on fire and then crashing. This CCTV video airing on Iranian media showing the moment of impact at the crash site. The devastation where the passenger jet came down just minutes after takeoff, the wreckage strewn across so many acres. All 176 people on board died, 63 of them Canadians. Tonight, Iran is defiant, calling it scientifically impossible that they are to blame. But what's now been done at the crash site, and there is news coming in, will U.S. investigators now be allowed in? ABC's David Curley, who covers aviation, leading us off.
For the first time tonight, this. What appears to be the moment that 737 is hit by a missile. This video shot in the neighborhood of the last track position of the Ukrainian jetliner. That missile can be seen streaking upwards right before impact, the sound following seconds later. The crippled jetliner in this video, posted by a resident outside Tehran, shows the plane apparently on fire, breaking apart and crashing 3 miles away. That impact also captured by CCTV video, which is airing on Iranian media, the moment of impact with debris streaking past the camera. All videos reinforcing Western intelligence out tonight that Iran's anti-aircraft system hit the jetliner. More than a third of the 176 on board were Canadian.
The evidence indicates that the plane was shot down by an Iranian surface-to-air missile. This may well have been unintentional.
The American intelligence community is confident, a U.S. official confirms to ABC, that Iran turned on a radar aimed at the jetliner, which would guide anti-aircraft missiles from a mobile launcher. A U.S. satellite then captured the firing of 2 missiles at the 737, which was less than 5,000 feet off the ground. The warheads of those missiles would explode near the aircraft, blowing into bits of shrapnel that would pierce the aircraft in multiple locations. pictures from the scene yesterday showed what appeared to be shrapnel holes in the wreckage of the Ukrainian jet. President Trump wouldn't say if he thought the jet was shot down, but
somebody could have made a mistake. Some people say it was mechanical. I personally don't think that's even a question, personally.
Iran continues to deny it shot down the jet, calling it scientifically impossible. But look at what the Iranian government has done. This was the scene hours after the crash yesterday. ABC News has exclusively obtained this video from this morning. The crash scene cleared of wreckage, the potential evidence.
That's just incredible. David Curley with us live from Washington. You just reported there that the crash site has been cleared, and rather quickly, David, just as we get word tonight that U.S. investigators might be allowed into Iran now.
As well as the Canadians, the French, and the Ukrainians. The U.S., if it accepts the invitation, the NTSB then would undoubtedly invite Boeing to also take part in this investigation, David.
But, of course, that crash site has now been cleared. David Curley leading us off tonight. David, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.